Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead, and we are back. Saratoga's back for real, not that nonsense Belmont meet that we had, although it was really fun. They decided to bring all the fun back again for the entire summer, including the cashless experience that they tested out. So shout out to Naira for making everything cashless. Apparently you can still bet with cash. You just can't buy anything with cash because cash is not king anymore. But you know who is king? King of picking Bill Mott firsters, Mr. Caleb Knight. Caleb, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. It has been a hectic week, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good, and that's how it works out sometimes. So, yeah, I've been good. I've been trying to survive the heat wave up here in the Northeast, which is called a brisk Tuesday in the South. So, depending how you look at it, but otherwise, didn't actually look at any racing today. Thesis work has kept me underwater a little bit, but looking forward to the weekend. How about you? Did you do any good?
No, I did very badly. I mean, there were two races where, I think there was one where I had a good price, ran second, and I would have cashed a nice little double there, and it basically would have made my day. So, I didn't throw too much at this first card, but a gentleman who I know only knows how to throw money at cards. And that's Mr. Mark Capitan. Mark, I have to ask you real quick because this is unrelated to Saratoga, but that Assiniboia Downs pick 4 last night paid $7.68.
Ooh.
A, did you hit it? B, did you lose money?
Yes and yes would be the answer to your question.
I had a $24 ticket, right? A $24 ticket. It's a dollar base. Remember that. $24 ticket. I thought that, I thought the first 2 races I could have singled. And when I didn't do that, I was like, all right. But still, even if I would have singled those 2 legs, I think it still would have been a $6 ticket. And the pick 4 paid $7.68. So I would have barely made any money on that. So that was definitely a rough Assiniboia card. But Mark, you were on site today for the first time here of the actual Saratoga meet. How did things go?
Things were good. No, it was a normal opening day. It wasn't crazy busy. Wasn't hard to get around or anything. Everything seemed to go pretty smoothly. I didn't see any of the normal opening day Naira shenanigans of the past where, like the stupid things like beer taps worked. Like they could pour a beer. That's a good start for Naira. No, it seemed like everything went pretty smoothly. It was an okay opening day. I mean, I think the racing was real tough. Obviously, being rained off the turf, definitely put a damper on things. I think it was a real tough card. And if you look at prices that came in, anybody who cashed tickets today, you really had your Sharpie out because it was a tough sequence. So it was a rough day. But for most, obviously when you have a $100 winner of the feature, or almost $100 winner of the feature, most people are going to have a rough day, right? I think the pick 5 paid, what was it, like $180K or something? So yeah, tough day.
Yeah, Caleb might have had that horse, but just would have been picking a
no Bill Mott firster. There wasn't a Bill Mott firster that won, so Caleb probably would not have had it. So.
Dude, I saw a Bill Mott firster in the sequence, and I was like, I wonder if Caleb's going to be on it.
Oh, he totally is going to be on this Bill Mott firster.
I own him forever now.
I'm a little disappointed in you, Josh. How did you? That horse that won the feature is a peak Josh horse. How did you not have the Josh horse? Yeah, Pete, will 100% be on there. There's no weather forecast. I'd be absolutely shocked. Well, it's Naira, so there's a 5% chance it's off. But yeah,
That's what I was telling Caleb. So yeah, it's funny, right? I love speed, but I'll tell you what, man. Those 2-year-old stakes races, I'm a sucker for like picking a horse that's past other horses,
Me too.
and there seem to be. Whoa, what is that?
Is that
Caleb's got a fire apparently. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm
It
like,
wasn't.
what? I'm like, what is
I
that
muted myself. I'm
feedback?
like, I'm getting feedback. Yeah, that's what I thought I was getting. And
Goodness gracious.
Caleb's trying to burn his apartment down, apparently.
God, what a like. What is he doing? God, I'm just like, I'm like, great. You know, we're still testing out this streaming platform here, and still got some kinks working out. So I know Mark and I we were testing some stuff here. As Caleb is just like taking the battery out of the smoke alarm. Oh man. But yeah, it's there's the 3 horse in that race. I really liked. I forgot the name of the horse already, but
Yep.
I was really big
I was on the
fan.
3 as well. Yep.
And
Same.
and you got your price. I mean, the horse
Yeah, you
floated
did.
up to like
You
5 or
did.
6 to
Yeah.
1. I think it was like 7 to 2 in the book. And you know,
The
I thought you got your
board
fair
is
price, and you know, ran second. So
Yeah, the board is hammer on that 10, who I think was the Asmussen horse that was in the race, who I did not like
I didn't like either.
at
Yeah,
all. I didn't like that horse at all. I thought the logical favorite was the 5, who is the horse that Johnny V ended up landing on, who showed speed early and then faded late in the lane and whatever, you know, because she didn't run a race. But again, I was on the 3 and the 9 as my other sort of alternatives. Both of them ran decently, but you know, I figured the Safi would be something that, you know, I mean, we know you hate horse racing, so and all things that are terrible in horse racing, I figured that would be a horse that you would just have slammed. So disappointed that you weren't there, Josh, you know.
yeah. Unfortunately, I was not there. But on the plus side, we do have a carryover in the pick 6 tomorrow. So, Mark, I know for you were hoping for a birthday miracle, with tomorrow being your birthday. Happy birthday
Thank
to
you.
you, early birthday to you. And you'll be on site, I believe, in the Cutwater section as you like to hang
Yeah.
out at. So that'll be fun. As you got friends coming out? Is Kath coming out with you, or what's going
Yeah,
on?
Cal's gonna come chill. Brandon's gonna come out. I ran into his mom today, but he had to work today, so he'll be out tomorrow. It was funny. He was gonna come hang with me today, and he's like, "Dude, he's like, they rained it off. It got rained off." He goes, "I'm not gonna come, you know, and skip a couple hours of work for an off the turf card." And I get that, you know, and I think I would imagine that was some of the, you know, maybe a little lackluster numbers. But yeah, no, he'll be chilling out with me. I'm sure John Massey's in town. I hung out with him a bunch today. We chilled out and chatted for quite a bit. And I imagine I'll see some of him today. And I don't know, the normal Saratoga crowd will be around. So I'll run into some people I know. I didn't run into Matt or Sarah today, but I know Matt had an absolutely crazy day. He had like 6 like TV appearances or something insane. He was on like his 3rd Mountain Dew by 6 a.m. or something. It was craziness. So no, I feel for those guys. They're in you know, any of the, if you see those people that are any of the television personalities for any of these you know, for any of the big media outlets, man, they are working their butts off, and you don't realize it because you're like, you see them and you're like, oh, that's an easy job, and you talk with them and they're like, oh no, I had like 15, you know, appearances today, and I had all these mandatories and I was running from here to here, and it just yeah, no, tough gig.
Yeah, it's yeah, I saw his schedule, and I was laughing with Andrew Champagne. I was like, I don't know who, you know, you're almost as busy as Matt is when he's doing all these things. So you know, because Andrew's been everywhere the last couple of weeks as well. But yeah, it's been a you know, it was a decent start to the meet. You know, I didn't connect on anything, but we got the carryover tomorrow. I'll probably fire at that. And yeah, this Saturday card looks pretty damn good. And you know, I'll tell you, you got some huge ass fields. You have some you know, just wide open races, and you know, you have a stakes race where I think you can possibly make a case for 2/3 of the field, maybe
Yeah.
almost every horse in the field in the
Yep.
That was like that. I can't remember the last time that happened. So, yeah, and I have no idea what just happened there. But yeah, we're gonna start here with race 8. We got a 7 furlong maiden race here, and Mark, where did you kind of land here? Can you not hear me, Mark? Hello, Mark. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. I don't think Mark can hear me. And let's take a look and see what the YouTube stream looks like here. This is great. It's a great start. Oh, yeah, I don't think Mark can hear me for some reason. So I will do that. Fortnite is fun saying, pay attention to the wind at the spot. If it hits the infield fountain too briskly, they will be off the turf. Yeah, that's pretty funny. It's been yeah, like they didn't get very much rain this time, and they got washed off. So let's see what we got here. Let's see if Mark can hear us yet. Mark, can you hear me yet? Mark can't hear me. Let me kick him because it's on him. But yeah, so this is going to be a tough race here. 7 furlongs here, 100K maiden. You know, I ended up on this 10 Hurricane Nelson. You know, unfortunately, this is a horse that hasn't run. Mark, can you hear me now? Mark? Just so you know, Mark, or let me message you here on but anyways, Hurricane Nelson is who I ended up on. You know, it's going to be the breaking from post 9. It's going to be your 10 horse here. Manny Franco and Christophe Clement. You know, as a 2-year-old, you know, wasn't able to break his maiden, and then they put him into a kind of restricted stakes, and you know, all 3 of those races look really, really good in this spot here. And he looks like he's going to be tough to beat. You know, getting Lasix for the first time, not necessarily something Christophe Clement's known for. You know, getting first time Lasix and you know, moving a horse up. But you know, Christophe Clement does great in these maiden races, right? He does great off the layoff. And I really think that those 3 races are, you know, probably better than anything that the rest of this field has run. And you know, when I look at the rest of the field, I'm just like, there's 2 other horses I have as Bs. And, you know, I'm really kind of, I guess, focusing on the fact that the 2 other horses I have as Bs here, which is the 7 commuted here, as well as the 2 Point Clear, you know, they're both coming out of maiden races at Churchill Downs. But what really strikes me is that both these horses closed and made up a ton of ground at Churchill Downs, which is just something that the Churchill Down that doesn't happen at Churchill Downs. Churchill Downs usually plays very, very forward. So when you see a maiden horse at this track, Churchill Downs, go ahead and make up a ton of ground. You know, that just kind of makes me think, hey, this horse has got a bit of talent. It's kind of running against what I think the normal track profile is for that race. I mean, if you even look at the 7's race, they didn't really think that pace was all that quick. Brisnet didn't. And then as far as the 2s race did look like there was maybe a little bit more pace. Now, granted, I don't think that you want to be 10 lengths off at the start like the 2 Point Clear was last time out, but the horse did seem to stumble a little bit out of the gate. So maybe with a bit of a cleaner trip and a cleaner exit out of the gate, maybe we get a little bit better of a trip for the 2 here. And then with the 7, Kenny McPeak, he's been firing this year. Obviously winning all kinds of big races. You look at this horse here coming in. Brian Hernandez shipping in with this horse, and just finished very, very well, and missed by a neck, third by a neck there. So I think this is one that definitely has some talent. Might be one that we want to see going maybe a little bit longer. Is going to be going that 7 Furlong trip once again. But might be one that if doesn't break the maiden here, maybe they try and go even just a little bit longer. Maybe go a mile and 16th, and try and get a little bit more distance into this one. As I wait apparently for my 2 co-hosts to try and rejoin here. Caleb, apparently the fire alarm are super loud, and it's not even his detector going off, so he's got to figure out what's going on in this building. And Mark, I don't know what happened to Mark, but we can go ahead. Oh, there he is. Can you hear me now, Mark?
I can hear you now. I don't know what's going on my end, but let me see if it's any better.
Yeah, that was really weird, because when everything kind of cut out, I jumped back on and I was talking and you couldn't hear me. I could hear you, and then I checked the YouTube stream and everything was hunky dory on my end. So,
Go
but
figure. Not sure what happened. Apologies.
But yeah, I talked through race 8 a little bit here. I landed on the 10 as my top pick here, the Hurricane Nelson, the Christophe Clement horse, and then I have the 2 Churchill shippers here, the 2 and the 7 as my Bs. Interested to see where you kind of landed here.
Yeah, no, I thought this was sort of a really interesting interesting race. Also thought Hurricane Nelson, the Clement horse that you mentioned, was an interesting player in here. And then I sort of ended up doing a little digging. And again, I haven't seen clockers for this race yet, but I thought the 3 Upstanding for Todd Pletcher was sort of an interesting horse in here. You're talking again, a horse paid a lot of money for. It's a Repulse, an Elias horse. These are normally quite well manned. The 2-back work was pretty solid. So I thought that one was was kind of an interesting player in here. And then I ended up on the also using the Chad Brown entries, or the co-entries, the 1 and the 1A in here. Both of these horses are horses we haven't seen since last fall. I mean, Chad shipped a horse down to Keeneland. I would assume that was very well meant if they did that. And also then you have the horse with a sort of Ellis and sort of Aqueduct. Both of the ones that solid work tabs since then on both of those. I obviously like the 1A more than I just like the 1. But I thought 10-1 was just a really juicy morning line on connections that tend to do well here. I do well at Saratoga. Now, with that all being said, I don't really know. There's always this angle of obviously Chad Brown at Saratoga, everybody bets Chad Brown at Saratoga, right? But what part of the meet does he do well? And Chad has a tendency to sort of start off slow in the meet and sort of kind of get rolling as things go along. So maybe these aren't his best, but I thought you're getting co-entry, you're getting a pretty solid price on those, and they were sort of interesting players here. But again, this is a maiden race where again, looking at this, if I was playing the pick 6 or you're even playing the late pick 5, I want a lot of coverage in here. I thought there was a lot of other horses, a lot of other directions you could go. I also had the 2, the 4, the 8, and the 9 all written down as horses that wouldn't be shockers. I mean, I realized Caleb's not on the stream right now, so somebody had to pick the Bilmont Firster. And I thought somebody liked, even the 4, a horse that, has shown some quality, getting the cut back here for Bilmont with Junior sticking aboard. Somebody like that, makes some sense, probably cutting back to maybe what this one really really wants to do. So I thought there, I thought there was some very interesting angles, a lot of different ways you could go here. So I wouldn't really talk anybody off any horse in here. I thought this was sort of the spreadier race of the sequence if you're looking at it.
Yeah, Charles really likes the four there, Reynolds Channel. He's saying Junior Mott mints money. And then the artist, David Barista here, he likes the 2, 4, 9, 10. And
Yep.
I think that's, I talked a little bit about the 2 as well as the 7 here. I got the optics plot up. Obviously, you have 3 firsters in here. So, depending on what you think they do, you have to kind of adjust the plot a little bit. But, the 10, Hurricane Nelson, I think sits in a pretty good spot here up in the Q1 as a Q1 square. The 9 does kind of sit up there as well on the standard plot, not so much on the surface of distance plot, but these are lightly raced horses. Sometimes, the plot gets a little weird. But
Well,
yeah,
the 9 does have 7 starts, so
okay.
a little less lightly raced than some of the others in here. And I guess there's a sort of this is always one of these sort of challenging Saratoga angles of what do you do with these horses that have a bunch of starts? And there's definitely changes here, but I think if you see a horse that's consistently getting starts at the same level, same distance, same jockey, nothing's changed and nothing, and then the performance is the same, then you kind of go, oh geez, like nothing's changed. But this is a jock, it's the horse, somebody like the 9, getting a jockey change, getting very different pace complexion than he's run into. Somebody like the 4 as well, horse that's getting that cutback, which I think is probably back to a better distance for this one. Cutting back to 7 furlongs where they tried to debut him at. So, I think there's some of these that they do have a bunch of starts, but there may be some upside there. Even given that, and so again, it's a race I think you really need to spread in here in this sequence.
Caleb, what did you think? He's staring off into space. Maybe he doesn't know what's going on yet. He's figuring it out. We'll let him figure that out. He probably can't hear anything because that damn siren was so loud when that was going off. He's probably deaf, but he's gonna probably have to rejoin. And for those of you guys who joined a little bit late, we're testing out some new software here. It worked out great the first time we streamed, and now obviously when we have multiple people, it seems like it's still getting used to things here. Caleb, can you hear us? Caleb, we hear him clicking around, but he can't hear us apparently.
Yeah, same thing was doing to me earlier, which is just weird.
Okay, I couldn't hear you guys for some reason, but I'm back.
Yeah, that's what happened with Mark too. It was something weird
Can I
happened.
hear you again?
No, you can't hear us again? What are you doing, Caleb? Look at this. The man's at MIT, and you can't figure out how to use a computer here. And now we're not talking, so maybe he's not even gonna notice that we're mentioning anything. But let me message him as he turns off his here. I'll mute his ass when he figures that out. So I thought this is a tough race, but I mean, if you thought this race was tough, Mark, let's talk about race 9. A mile and 16th on the turf here. I mean, we have 15 horses, 16 horses entered between MTOs and AEs. I think there's a lot of ways you can go here. I'll let you go first. Where did you land here?
You're talking about it being a spready race, and I thought it was actually a really easy race. I think you single Irish aces and you move on.
Okay.
You're getting a horse that is coming out of much better races, dropping in here, and this is a gelding who ran well in much better races. He wasn't getting embarrassed. He's not quite a G2 G3 caliber horse, and he's getting some class relief here. Definitely the type that needs a little bit of pace set up in front. He should get that pace setup, I think, in this race. Should be able to kind of sit mid-pack, a few of these that they're to show speed. And I think he's just the best closer in the field. And Brendan Walsh has played this game at Saratoga before. And Brendan Walsh does fairly decently when he ships up, up to Saratoga. He had really good percentages with using gaff when he shipped up to Saratoga last year. So they were almost 30%. They were 30% together with a $3.94 ROI. So I think all connections, all signs kind of sort of say go. I think off that Arlington G3 down at Churchill, should have a prep off the layoff, and this should be kind of all systems go type of race. And I think Irish Ace is if you need a single in the sequence, this is one of the ones I think I would be most aggressively singled to.
Caleb, now that we have you back,
hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? No, I don't get it. We can hear you, Caleb. I don't know what's going on here. We'll have to figure that out. But Mark, I think you're right. I think Irish Aces is the lone A. But I thought that there were other horses. I thought there were other horses that we needed to use here. I think you make a really, really good case here, right? This is a horse that's been going against much tougher. Is going to get a bunch of class relief here. And I think on time form, if I remember correctly, I don't have time form pulled up, but was probably about 4 or 5 points maybe faster than anybody else in this field.
Four or 5 points feels about right. Sort of running a 122 ran a 122 in that last out in the Arlington. And the rest of the other field is 120, 118 range is the best of the rest. So yeah, definitely a little bit faster. But again, it's one of those situations. I understand where you're coming from. Yes, it is the best horse in the field. Yes, it should be the most quality horse in the field. But there are others in here that do make some sense. So.
Yeah, like I thought the 7 Georgie W here, Irad getting a board for William Walden. I thought that last race was actually really, really good. Now Grace Fable came back to run again and kind of regressed a little bit. So you kind of got to question whether that big last time out was, is legit. If it is, I think that he's just as fast, if not just as fast as the 8, and you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna get what, 3 times the price on that horse. I mean, maybe you don't because of IRAD, but William Walden's not exactly a household name here in New York. So and then I thought the 2 Bs were just outside. I thought the 9 Bayous and the 10 Taking Candy were both very, very interesting. Taking Candy, I think if he had a run, since then, I think that he might be a little bit more interesting. Obviously coming off the what is that, 10-month layoff, to coming back here
16 days. Yeah.
Coming off that huge layoff, coming back here, might be asking a little bit, coming against the salty group. But obviously broke its maiden at Churchill Downs, has run well at Saratoga, winning an optional claimer, and then running second last time out in the Saranac. So
I was just gonna say the question you kind of have to ask yourself with somebody like Taking Candy. I also really like Taking Candy. It's a B on my sheet. Is if this was Chad Brown with, I don't know, a Rad Ortiz coming off this long layoff, this horse would be 3-1 in this field. And quite honestly, Sherry hits just as high of a percentage and at Saratoga as those connections do. So I think Taking Candy makes absolutely a ton of sense in here. A horse we haven't seen since September. First start as a 4-year-old, very likely to take a step forward. Going 3-4. I think Taking Candy makes all the sense. It's funny you landed on I think basically all 3 of the Bs that I had in here written down. So we see this race really similarly, even though I would be a little bit more aggressive to the chalk.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the 9. The interesting thing about the 9 is, if I remember correctly, and I'm kind of going back. But if you kind of look at the races that are run at this distance, I think they got 1 or 2 races that smack that really, really fit with the rest of the especially with the 8. I think has got the other highest time form fig in this field, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean the I think 117, so probably third or fourth fastest time form in the field. My issue with the 9 is the horse just doesn't win. The last win was going 7 furlongs at Kentucky Downs since last September, and then since then I don't know. My form I think I laid 15 lines in my form, and there's not a win since then. So this is just a horse that doesn't seem to get it done. They've tried all the distances, they've tried all the different levels, and they just don't seem to really know what they have. And that's the kind of horse I don't want to take, a short price on. And probably in connections with Louis up for Maker, that horse is gonna take more money than he has any right to. So I get where you're coming from. It's an interesting player in here, definitely underneath in a try or a super or something like that, but not a horse that I probably will have that one nowhere on any of my tickets.
Caleb, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, but it seems like as soon as I start talking, my audio gets muted and I can't hear you back. Say something.
Yeah, can you hear us now, or are you muted again?
Okay, that still seems to work. I don't know if I disabled the ability for devices to take control of my audio to see if that fixed it, maybe.
Oh, interesting. That's so weird.
But it's working now anyway, so yes. I really haven't heard anything you guys say. I just presume that Mark took the chalk. They're pretty close.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Josh also took the chalk, so let's not kid ourselves here.
Yeah, I mean the chalk does look good in here. I mean it's hard to be, I think, aggressively against the favorite, other than the fact that there's a lot of cool horses in here that are also kind of maybe have positive angles that are going to be much better prices. I think that's kind of the decision you have to ask yourself. I think it's a race where you could go skinny and just try to build around this favorite, but I think it's also a race that you could make an argument for a lot of other horses. I probably wouldn't be playing a ticket where I would use Irish Aces plus 5 others. I just think that's kind of bad equity in a field like this. So I think you're going to have to decide what you do with him. And I think he's fine, but I don't know that there's grade 2 and grade 3s. I mean, Tampa, Fairgrounds, I'm not sure that they're really the highest quality of field. I mean, I'm not sure that they're that much better than what some other horses in here are coming out of in optional 80s or optional 62s. So I'm inclined to maybe take a shot against. I presume that somebody or everybody talked about the 7 Georgie W in here already.
Yeah, I used the 7.
Yeah,
I used my top pick. I love the rider change to IRAD, not just because it's IRAD, but a lot of speed in this race, the way I saw it. Don't want the 7 on the lead. I think Blinker's coming off, IRAD coming up, probably sits just off in here, and I thought he ran a nice race last time out. Gray's Fable's an older horse who's won a couple stakes races, so thought that was a nice race off the bench, should step forward. I presume we talked about the 9 Bayous, whatever it's called. Yeah, not exactly a win machine, but the cutback makes sense in here, so I agree with kind of the take there. Anybody look at the 12? That's probably more of a Caleb horse.
I did not look at the 12.
Yeah, I mean, so I have this horse marked down as like a B/C question mark, depending how I structured the ticket. I think this horse had a lot of talent as a 3-year-old. It never really materialized. But I'm kind of going back to the well one last time here, simply because, I do think that this horse has some ability in there somewhere. I mean, he's versatile. He's run against some really good horses. I mean, he ran against Webslinger twice back when Webslinger was actually winning races. Farbridge, the Foxes, horses that are pretty respectable in their own right. Tried dirt for a while, not exactly his cup of tea. And I am, as anyone knows, not a believer in first-time gelding, but this is a horse that has a really incredible pedigree, and I think the fact that they finally, broke glass in case of emergency with this horse, maybe that's the thing that wakes him up. He will need to improve, to be sure, against this field because he is too slow to win based off what he's shown so far. But I'm willing to give him one more chance at what should be a pretty generous price, simply because, I've seen flashes of talent. Hasn't always put it all together. Maybe he'll step forward off the first time gelding here. And this is a pretty, ambitious spot to take when they passed up the entire Churchill and Keeneland meets to come back here. So I'll give him one last shot here. Wish he had maybe one more work. I'm not sure if this was exactly the plan to come back here, but I'll give him a shot at a big price.
So wait a second. Who's the trainer of the 12? I've never heard of this guy.
Mm, I don't know. I think he's Kenneth McPeck, I think.
Oh, Mark. Um, did you guys look at the 11 at all? Any love for the 11? Bring me a check here. Mike Maker taking a turf sprinter and running him long. You guys ever hear this story? Uh,
Yeah.
obviously
I've
ran
heard the
second.
story before, and it always ends poorly for me.
Hey,
So
ran second in the Bernard Baruch last time out, or last meet, or 2 years ago. Holy cow! 2023 was 2 years ago. Goodness
Oh, was
gracious!
it?
Oh no, it was 1 year. Okay, man, dude, you know what trips me up is I saw Saratoga 24, and I'm like, holy cow!
Oh yeah, I
Not
get it.
not
Yeah.
thinking, like goodness gracious, dude. I haven't even had that much whiskey. But yeah, bring me a check. I thought this horse, coming in to make Mike Maker's barn, going long. Obviously that the Baruch was probably the best race he's run. And for some reason they decided to cut him back again and keep running him short. And now Mike Maker's got this horse and he's going to try and run him long again. So I don't know. I mean, the horse is 7 years old, 7-year-old gelding. Maybe we're asking a little too much here, but I was just trying to find a couple of alternatives to the 8 here. I landed on the 7, 9, 10, and 11 here along with the 8. But I did see our friend Nick Feldman. He likes his 3.
I wanted to ask about that 3. That was the horse I was going to ask you guys about, and exactly what he's talking about. Again, when we talk about these stories we've seen before, Jose Ortiz loose on the lead in a turf route, and that's how he won that race 3 back. Horse seems to be in pretty good form. And obviously in maybe a little bit of a dirtied up form with that dirt start in there, but they should be the controlling speed on the front end. Nice to see Jose sticking with this mount, and I thought both, there was a couple of fairly impressive, turf routes in there. So it was a horse I had marked down as a B. On figures alone, the 3 is just not fast enough to win this race, and it's quite a bit too slow. But from a pace complexion, stealing it on the front end, I think the 3 is a super interesting horse and one that you definitely need to use. And I thought that the 3 was kind of an interesting player.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's maybe a little too much speed for me to think he's going to wire, but it is New York, so it's always tough to say. But I do think he will be your leader, and I think he'll get a good price given some of the cheaper races he's been coming out of. So I don't hate that take.
Yeah, I looked at him mostly because I believe on optics he did look like a Q1 square on the standard plot. He on the surface of distance he kind of drops down to that Q3 square, which isn't exactly where you kind of want to be. Obviously the 8, I mean, just looms large here as this humongous square here. And he seems to make a ton of sense in this spot. But I saw David. David likes the 8, the 10, and the 13. We talked about the 8. The 10, Taking Candy, is one that I kind of looked at here. Coming off the long layoff. Q1 square has got. I think if you assume that Sherry DeVoe has been able to continue training this horse up, and this horse takes a step forward off that Saranac, I think the horse will be competitive in this race. So I really do like that 10. And then the 13 is Ocean Atlantique, which I believe is a I've been fooled by this horse one too many times. I will not go back to that well. I feel like that horse has looked great in a couple of races. Although he was a maker horse, wasn't he, for a while?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, and now he's with Dutrow. So, I mean, maybe there's another step forward there. Who knows? And then David also he might use the 1, 3, and the 4. So the 3 is the one Nick Feldman talked about. Mike Eng here, he likes the 4. He said he's had some inside trouble last out. Now gets Pratt, and Yeah, let's let me switch back over to the PPs here, magical ways here. Yeah, I mean that was probably the first thing I noticed about this horse is going from Mirage to to Pratt on the turf. Probably a bit of an upgrade there, and you know was going off at some humongous odds last two times. I mean, finished third behind Ocean Atlantique there last time, and yeah, I mean, maybe if this horse takes a step forward with the jock change, could be there. I don't know. Did you look at this forward all, Mark?
I did. I again like the jock change, right? Obviously, that's a good high percentage move. And Rudy is always, tend to go on to Flavian with his good turf horses, so that would make sense. But I just thought there was too many bad races in there to really excuse. I don't really know if this is a turf horse, honestly. I mean, I realized maybe there's a little turf pedigree. But the horse is winless over the turf, and I don't know. It felt like they're trying to figure out. Rudy taking a shot, figuring out what he has. He campaigned this one for quite a bit on on the dirt. So I don't know what to make of it, but I thought that the 4 was probably a little bit too far. I had to get a little too creative to get there.
Anything else in this race you guys want to talk about?
I think we talked every horse to death, didn't we?
Caleb, real quick, who did you like in race 8?
In race 8, I didn't have a strong opinion in the race. The way I'll play this is I'll leave the 10 off, Hurricane Nelson. I just think the horse coming off a big layoff, who had, I guess, somewhat promising 2-year-old form. I don't need that horse as the favorite. I think the maiden race that he finished second in, I think the fig was a little bit dressed up in there, and then he ran okay. I mean, in that Florida bred stakes race or the restricted stakes race in Florida anyway. I mean, nothing wrong there, but he was also 2-1, so I really don't know what was behind him in that field as well. So yeah, for me, I mean, I'm kind of against the 10, but I have no strong opinions. I thought 10-1 on the 5 felt a little bit surprising, given he had a pretty decent race last out, and on second time out should improve. Does have a right to a step forward. His numbers fit with pretty much anybody else, so I thought he was kind of interesting. I don't know if we'll get that price or not. The Pletcher Irad Firster obviously will be dangerous. And then the 2 horses that made big late runs, I kind of liked. The 2 Point Clear, who stumbled out of the gate and then made a big run to get up for second. I kind of like that horse, and as well as the 7, the other horse by the trainer that I still don't know who that is, who also came out kind of slow and then made a nice run late. So again, looking for some upside with lightly raced horses, trying to get away from the 10. I think is kind of how I'll approach it, and I might even take a shot with some of the fake Chads. I mean, who knows? I'm feeling lucky.
I mean, if I were you, I'd definitely be feeling pretty lucky. So let's move on here. Race 10, the Diana. We got grade 1 race here. Before during the kind of intro to the stream, I mentioned that I think you can almost make a case for basically every single horse in this race. I think that this is probably the most competitive top to bottom rendition of this race I can think of in the last couple of years. I feel like the last couple of years this race has drawn like 5 horses and 4 of them been Chad Brown horses. So now you have 10 horses and 5 of them are Chad Brown horses. So at least at least the ratio is getting a little better, I guess. But your favorite is I mean, outside of the AE, the 11 Venti Valentine is going to be not Caleb's favorite horse in training right now, the 10 Chili Flag, but is going to be the 4 Didia, who I think Mark and I both made some money on Belmont Day, and Caleb would have made money on if he wasn't having basically the worst hiking trip of his life. I like the horse in this spot. I thought the horse made a ton of sense here, but I thought that there were some other ways you could go. But Caleb, where did you kind of go?
So I do agree with you that I think Didia is a very likely winner of the race. She's just really good. Not entirely sure what happened in the Jenny Wiley two back, where she just didn't really show up with her customary effort. But essentially, you know, I guess one argument could be she's in every other horse or every other race kind of horse. I don't think I prescribe to that because she rattled off about 4 wins in a row, and then 4 out of the 5 prior to that. The Breeders' Cup, maybe just a little too deep of waters there. But I mean, she's very good, and other than maybe the Keeneland race, she's very consistent. So I do think that she's your most likely winner. I'll be playing for her pretty heavily. There's 2 other horses that I kind of liked in here. But one of them I assume will be on many tickets because she's a perennial fan favorite, and that's number 1, Moira. I've never really liked this horse, to be honest, because I've always thought she was a bit of a head case. And I do think it's possible that maybe this is just a touch sharper than she wants to go. I've always thought she was a better longer in the past. But watching her races lately, I mean, she really hasn't been polishing off those 1.25 mile races the way that I expected her to. And her one race at 1 1/8, 3 back at Woodbine was, absolutely smashing. So I do think that, her Breeders' Cup race was very good. I mean, Inspiral and Warm Heart would lay over this field if they were to race here today. So I do think that Moira fits. I think 5-1's a great price. So I do like her a little bit in there. And then the other horse that I'll have probably more as like a B or C will be my old horse, Evie Jets. This horse doesn't owe me a penny. I've made plenty of money on this horse. But from when I look at this race, I guess you argue White Beam is the only other speed that I can kind of find. I don't think they're going to send Didia. I mean, they kind of sent her 2 back, and that didn't work. So I don't think they're really going to send her again. And besides that, White Beam's kind of the only speed. So I think Evie Jets, she always gets disrespected, but she's not that much worse than anybody in this field. I mean, she was 4th in a blanket finish with Chili Flag, White Beam, and Mission of Joy last out, all of whom are going to be half or a fourth of the price of Evie Jets in here today. And she should have a tactical advantage on almost all of them except for perhaps White Beam. I am a little bit nervous about 9 furlongs. I do not think she's a 9 furlong horse. I think she is more of a miler, and if she's lucky, maybe a mile and a 16th. But you never know. At 20-1, despite my kind of reservations, I'll be willing to have her on a couple of tickets as more of a BC type play.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned 2 of the horses that I'm going to be using here. Obviously, the 4 Didia. I do think, what's the word? Like, she's kind of like the measuring stick of this race, right? Like, she's kind of like, I mean, just a super consistent horse. Like, has thrown a couple of duds here and there, but for the most part, it seems to be pretty consistent. Distance. I mean, as long as you're going at least a mile and 16th, she seems to be okay. Anywhere between a mile and 16th and up to a mile and a quarter, I think has run really, really good races. So a tactical type, which you always like to see, right? Can be right up on the pace, can be a little bit off. Doesn't, I think, necessarily want to be 4 or 5 lengths off, but she's also won that way as well. So I just super cool horse. Love seeing horses like this, and I think that she makes a ton of sense in here. I agree with you with the 1 Moira. I mean, you look at that last race, and I mean that race is just so good, and I mean so much better than what a lot of these horses have run. And you're going to get, I think, a very fair price here at 5-1. Maybe the question's going to be, how far back is she going to be? But I feel like when Moira has been a little bit more tactical, and gotten herself into races a little bit earlier, she's run her best, right? If she sits back, if Tyler takes her back 7 lengths. I don't like that. If Tyler's sitting 4 lengths off, 4 lengths off, all right, now I think that kind of invites her back into the race. So I think it's a great price. I have her as a B in this spot. And then I think the only other horse I'm going to use is a horse that Nick Feldman just absolutely loves here, and that's the 6 White Beam. I am fading Chili Flag once again, to my detriment, where I was on her 2 back and then I jumped off, and sure enough, 2 back, Caleb goes, only you and my dad will like chili flag. And then I jump off, and who still has them? Mr. Knight. Mr. Knight's still all over chili flag, cashing tickets while the rest of us are just looking around like, what the hell are we doing here? But I thought Chili Flag ran a really, really good race last time out. Obviously headed, had the lead at the straight, and then just kind of got beaten there. But yeah, I don't know. I think that race probably could have gone either way. I think you're getting a little bit more distance in here. And obviously she won this race last year. And you're gonna say, Mark? Are you gonna jump in?
No, go ahead.
Oh, you just took a really deep breath in.
Oh, sorry. I'm just waiting patiently.
You took a real deep breath in, like you wanted to correct or say jump in there. So I was like, oh. Yeah, no, I think White Beam makes a ton of sense here. Is probably going to be second. I think, maybe she does go to lead, but as much speed as she's shown, she at least in America has not actually been the leader at first call. It seems to always kind of want somewhat of a target, I think. So I think she might go ahead and let a horse like the 9 go ahead and get the lead and kind of give herself a target there. But yeah, I'm just 4 with the 1 and the 6. Mark, where did you land?
Yeah, so let's start off with Didia, the 4 horse in here, and I absolutely love this horse. I have been a huge fan of her for a couple of years. I think I bet her every time she has a start. She was very, 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 very good to me in the New York in her last start. But to kind of steal a Calebism, is something along the lines of if you miss the wedding, don't go to the funeral, kind of a thing. I know Caleb doesn't think it, but I think as a 6-year-old, she's kind of turned into an every other type. It seems like she fires a real big effort, and then she needs a rebound race. And I realized the British Cup filly and mare, she was just in way over her head, right? I get it, cool. I can kind of draw a line through that. But the Jenny Wiley was just kind of a suspect bad performance. And her New York last year was, I never thought that much of market segmentation. So I kind of head scratch at what happened with her in that race as well. I think she got let go at a stupid price in the New York last out. And I think the board's going to correct. And I want to go someplace else. White Beam is your, I think White Beam is, obviously you guys will talk about White Beam quite a bit. We were defending champion in this race, but she's gotten awfully camera shy since she won that race last year.
Mark, get a little closer to your mic. Your mic started cutting out again.
As much as I like White Beam, and I think she very much fits here. She's kind of horse that since last year.
Let's
I lost you, or is it
yeah, I
me?
think we lost you again, Mark. I don't know what's going on. You're maybe just disconnect your mic and try it again. It sounds like it's your mic. It doesn't sound like it sounds like it's not picking up all your words, which is kind of weird. Yeah, Mark likes White Beam. So
let's, while he reconnects, what is the real, I guess, White Beam could win this race for sure, but I think you could say that any of the top 4 finishers out of the Just a Game could win this race. Like, why White Beam as opposed to Mission of Joy or even Evie Jets, who are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 times the price? What's the real angle there?
Mark?
I'm getting thrown right in here. No, hopefully my mic's working again.
Oh yeah, it's perfect now.
Okay, cool. I think White Beam makes some sense. I think she's just gotten a little camera shy. So where I landed was on Caleb's horse, Evie's Jets. I think Evie's Jets makes a ton of sense in here. Especially given the fact that the inner does tend to be very speed favoring at Saratoga. I know people talk about maybe it's through the rails in, rails out kind of a thing, but I think just in general, the inner tends to be more speed favoring than the melon. And I think Evie's Jets is, if they want the lead with her, they can definitely get the lead with her. And and again, as Caleb sort of mentioned, her figures are not that much slower than anybody else in this race. And I can see a situation where there's I think a couple of others that are in this race are a little bit suspect on the front end, or just a little bit suspect. Kind of, do they still have that desire to win? And I think she could kind of get loose on the front end and kind of wire this field. I thought she was super interesting in here. The other horse that I'm a little bit interested in here is the 8 horse Nisi Marie, who is a horse that has some recency at Saratoga. She was in that New York. She ran a second to Dadia. She needs a bit of a pace setup, which I think she'll get in here. And I don't think that the trip is a problem for her. And she gets Luis Saez up, who I just think is a better turf jock than Rosario is. So I thought, and I also think she's the kind of horse. I know Sarah Badawi is a big Nisi Marie fan, but I think she's the kind of horse that maybe gets a little ignored on the board, and you get that 12 to 1, 15 to 1 range on a horse that has shown that she likes to win races. This is probably the right trip, and I think she's going to get the setup in front of her. So those were the 2 horses that I was most interested in here. I don't want to take anything away from Dadia. She's a really, really cool horse. She's probably one of the best stories in horse racing. She's not getting the media attention that she needs with how good she has been. But no, I think somebody like Evie's Jets or Nisi Marie are actually extremely interesting players in this race. Which is you're going to get prices on horses that you'll probably never get those kind of prices on them again, just because of the quality end to end of this field.
I agree. Like I said, I think you're going to get your price on basically anybody in this race. I mean,
yeah,
even if you really feel strongly about Dadia and you get 3 to 1 in this spot, I don't think you can really be too upset.
No, I don't think you can either. If you really love her at 3 to 1, that's a great value. She talk about a horse that loves winning races. She just loves winning races. So that's probably value on her. And it was just a criminally absurd price that you got her in the last time out.
Yeah, Nick Feldman's talking about Gino Romantica, and he thinks that this is a classic case of getting lost on the board, and she floats up to 13 to 1. Where the last time she won, she was like the other Chad, right? And won at 11 to 1, right?
My issue with her is the fact of I don't really think she wants to go this far. Historically, she's shown that she really doesn't want to go this far. Chad's always sort of kept her as a miler, and you got to sort of excuse her last 3. It's one thing for me. I think I'm pretty okay with crossing a line through one race and saying, okay, they had a bad day, they had an off day, trainer's putting it right back in. This is sort of like you got to draw a line through the last 3, the Just Again, the Jenny Wiley, and okay, maybe she was in over her head in the BC Mile. So at least the last 2. But it seems like she's kind of fallen off a cliff as a 5-year-old. It just doesn't seem like she's the same horse again. And again, she's going to get lost on the board. You're going to get your price. And I agree. She's probably going to be 13 to 1. And I think that's probably what you get on her. But she's got a lot of questions to answer. And to me, there are other prices in this race that I think I'm more interested in than Gina Romanica.
I'll take the other side of that. I kind of agree with Nick, I think, a little bit. I do think the horse gets lost on the board. I agree with that completely. And the results haven't been sexy, but the figures have been fine. I mean, that Keeneland race, I mean, Dadia didn't fire, Gina Romanica didn't fire. Maybe the track was playing kind of funky that day. Maybe there's some, who knows? But, beating a length to Master of the Seas, Maj, and Casa Creed, there's no shame in that. Prior to that, she won a grade 1 at Keeneland. And then her last race, admittedly wasn't great. That's the one I think you have to sort of figure out what you think of. But again, half the field's coming out of that race, and there's less than 2 lengths that separates them. There's less than 1 length that separates 4 of them. So I think it's a tough race to really base much of an opinion on, purely on results-oriented kind of analysis. So I don't love Gina Romanica, but I think she's fine. And if you like her, you'll get more than a fair price. I agree with that.
Nick with the spot on sentiment on the jock change there. Yeah.
Nick also with Caleb's just absolute nightmare situation. All this analysis, Chili Flag floats to 5 to 1, and Irad flies home for another win.
It can't happen.
I would say the 3 of us are putting Chili Flag right in the winner's circle. This is 100% what's going to happen.
cue up like the Jesse Pinkman, he can't keep getting away with it meme. Like, he can't keep getting away with it.
I did see Colin saying that one of us needs to take him up on the daily double challenge and come on doubling down with him. So, Colin, go ahead and message me, and I will. If I can't do it, I'm sure Mark or Caleb or one of us will definitely.
I'm not sure what the challenge is, but I love me some daily doubles, so I'm game.
Yeah. I thought, like I said, I think you could make a case for almost anybody in this race. I mean, hell, Fluffy Socks. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to make a case for Fluffy Socks.
That's the one horse I can't use.
No, it's the one horse. And I love Fluffy Socks. And Fluffy Socks owes me nothing. She has been extremely good to me. But she's just a massive couple of this field.
I did see, Colin brought up that, I mean, he's looking at Equibase speed figures, but the winner in the Just a Game got a 97, and like the loser in Didier's last race got 100. So, it probably talks a little bit more about, kind of the class of, I just think that, like I said, that race, that Just a Game was just a really, really kind of flat race, similar to this one. You know, I just think that maybe Didier is a little bit better than the rest of them in here. Yeah, we didn't really talk about any of these other horses. Like, what about the two Coppice or Coppice? That's another Chad Brown horse here, or Capice, whatever.
I'm guessing it's Capice, but I'm not sure. I just, I know Caleb and I have talked about this and this is kind of how I feel about Capice. Chad Brown gets some of these Euros, and if they don't win kind of at first asking, sometimes it takes them a while to kind of get it done. She was sort of exclusively, well, I guess she was exclusively campaigned as a miler in Europe, and I mean, Kingman should be able to go this far. I don't know necessarily why this stretch out gets it done for her, though.
I have this like nightmare scenario in my head that Frankie Dettori just goes full send on the two here and wires this field, because like I feel like I've seen that before with him on a Chad Brown horse that has no speed. There's 5 Chad Browns in here. Maybe he doesn't want to go against White Bean. I mean, who knows? But I don't really like the horse. But the fact that Frankie gets up in kind of a no pace really scenario. I mean, the horse is. I don't like the horse, but the horse scares me for no good reason.
Yeah. Before we go on to the next race here, there's a very important question in chat from one Nick Feldman. Caleb, what was your winning bet in the contest?
Oh, God.
So anyone who knows me knows that there's 2 things I love in life, and that's bourbon and Bill Mott first-time starters on the turf. So yes, I, by some way, ended up with the exacta in the last race.
Can
we just say you misclicked? Can we just say it? You misclicked.
So I gotta ask because I was in Vegas when this was all happening, and so I was like half paying attention. I just saw the aftermath of what happened. Did you catch it before the race went off, and then just was like, I'm gonna let this go because that never canceled?
He couldn't cancel it.
So you aren't allowed to cancel exotics over $100 base. I guess for like pool manipulation.
Yeah.
So I couldn't cancel it. So at that point I was like, well, I guess we're just riding with Bill Mott. And I had a couple other combinations behind it in case it came in, like 1-2 or something like that. Because at that point I was committed to the 2. But
yeah.
But yeah.
You forget the part where he used every expletive in reference to the Naira betting platform that could ever possibly be used, talking about the fact that he couldn't cancel the wager. It was quite entertaining, and it went from Caleb just swearing profusely to, oh my God.
I just laughed when I saw it come in. What can you do except for just laugh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I laughed too when 25K just happened to show up on my my doorstep as well. Goodness gracious! I mean, but like, not to take, obviously we're joking around, taking the piss a little bit here, but you were down to like $40, and you made a really, really great bet. A couple of really good bets. I think it was the 2 races before that last race to even like get you any amount of money to kind of even make a stab in that last play. So
yeah, definitely was down to $40 across 2 entries, and got that up to like $320 or so, I think. And which was still, a 10-1 shot away from winning. But at least that puts you in with a shot. And, sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you get real lucky.
Look, at sometimes you just need a little bit of racing luck. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck when you're placing your wagers. And I mean,
That's true.
sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, I will say though, as much crap as we give you, obviously the 2 wagers you placed before that to get yourself in a position to misclick were absolutely phenomenal. Like that I mean, I think the straight win bet was very smart, and and then that try you hit was really, it was adorably cute. So well done, man. Congrats.
Well, I look forward to seeing you both there, and you as well, Nick.
So speaking of cute. We have the cute little 2-year-olds here. Caleb's favorite type of races outside of turf marathons, 2-year-old stakes races. 6 furlongs here, the Sanford Grade 3. Your 6-5 favorite is the 1 Mentee. And, Caleb, I was talking about this earlier. These are the types of races where it's like you see all these horses that are winning wire to wire. And I'm trying to... I'm trying to find a different play here, and I saw Colin really liked it. Studley Do Right, the 6, coming in here from Laurel, and then won that race, the Tremont at Saratoga for the Belmont Festival. I think he makes a ton of sense here. Is a horse that is past other horses. I mean, this horse was 11 lengths off at second call last time out, and was able to make up all that ground. So this horse was just absolutely flying late. Thought that this horse makes a ton of sense figure wise. Makes sense, I think, running style wise. You have a lot of horses here who are going to want to be right on the pace, and I think as an alternative to that horse, the 6. I think the 5, 3 Echoes makes a ton of sense here for Steve Asmussen and Flavian Pratt, and more because this is just more tactical horse, right? Is a horse that doesn't want to be right on the front end, but it isn't going to leave himself 8 lengths or 11 lengths like Studley Do Right did last time, and we'll be well positioned, I think, at the straight to make to really be involved in the end of this race. If you pull up and look at optics for this race here, I think for sure, you look at where this 5 is, it just looks, like I said, like a horse that's going to have a bunch of be really tactically placed there up front. And obviously, you have your 6 Studley Do Right is just this humongous square sitting in Q4 and Q2, who might be able to pick up the pieces. So I went with just those 2 horses in this spot. Mark, where did you land?
Yeah, I had a really, really, really tough time with this race. Obviously the favorite, the 1, makes a ton of sense. Horse that got it done at first ask, ton of early speed. But my question really is, can this horse who's an absolute speedball, who was pulling himself up kind of late, can he extend that out and get an additional extra furlong? And I don't really know if he can. I kind of wonder about these 2-year-olds getting real headstrong and just kind of they want to do their own thing. And is he a horse that can get 6 after he's already gotten 5? Top choice for me, actually, I went way to the outside with the 8-horse Moplex. For Jeremiah Engelhart, horse just probably on connections that does drift up and get ignored a little bit. That first race was very, very, very impressive, winning by 10, just absolutely going away. Obviously, has the question, probably ask or answer the question of can he actually pass other horses? But he's one. Jeremiah gets these on occasion, and when he tends to get a good horse, he tends to kind of keep him good. He seems to be the kind of trainer that they get pretty consistently. They have some pretty good consistency to them. So I thought Moplex could take another, doesn't need to take much of a step forward to be a major player, and I'm a little less concerned about that one getting the distance than I am the Mentee, the one who's going to probably take all the money. I'll throw it over to Caleb. I do have a price that I really kind of like it here from Cute Angles, but I want to see where he landed.
Yeah, so I really landed on the same two horses that you guys both did. I wouldn't bet Menti with your money. I mean, 6-5 on this horse, like absolutely not. A horse that had a 5 length lead turning for home and is life and death to hold on. And I'm always high. I mean, the figure came back very fast. Yes, I understand, but I'm always really suspect of a figure that comes back where the top 2 or even top 3 finishers would be the fastest horse in the next race moving into a grid 3. I mean, and that's kind of how this race sets up. I mean, the top 3 finishers in that race would all be one of, if not the fastest horse in this race. And I don't know how much I believe that with 2-year-olds. I don't like the stretch out. I think there's other speed in here. Nothing about that horse is good to me. We'll get overbet because of his pedigree, and I don't need that horse.
Oh, he's also full of fierceness, which is definitely
exactly.
Going to lean into the people throwing money at the window. So.
So for me, it's 6 Studley Do-Right, who has a great closer. 2 nice runs, including an incredibly nice run in the Tremont last out, and then Moplex for a lot of the reasons that Mark kind of mentioned. I actually think Moplex comes down. I don't think we get 6-1. Blowout victory, pretty good figure, and Irad Ortiz. I think the horse
probably
down.
Second choice.
Second to third, I think. I think he'll be in that 7-2 ballpark. I would maybe think the 1 drifts up a touch. Maybe not. I don't know. But I think that Moplex is probably in that 7-2, 4-1 kind of range. But either way, I think that's fair enough value for me. And I like 6 and 8. That's pretty much the only 2 that I could make a strong argument for. In a race like this, I think you could make a weak argument for anybody. But I couldn't really convince myself to go much deeper. So I guess Mark, what was your cute price that you liked?
Yeah, my cute price was the 2, Mr. Squeaky Wheel for Kevin Rice. This is a similar angle where he had one start at Presque Isle and then shipped a horse to Naira, and he won one of the stakes races last year on the turf in a turf sprint at a stupid price with Jose Ortiz up. And it was a horse I know a couple of us were on. Very, very similar, horse that kind of wins at first ask, and then ships in and it gets ignored at the board at Saratoga. And this is kind of, if you know Kevin Rice, he has a very small barn. He only has a handful of horses, unless Linda's suspended, where he has a lot more. And, one of those ones that I just wonder, this is going to probably be your longest price on the board. And I think it's, an interesting player. I have the feeling that we really haven't seen the best out of this 2 quite yet. So, yeah, I'm a little bit interested in Mr. Squeaky Wheel.
So I had the horse marked down as a question mark because I couldn't remember which Rice was the good Rice. Is Kevin the good one and Adam is the bad one, or is it vice versa?
I don't remember.
In my head, one of them. I remember one of the Rice brothers with Presque Isle Shippers won a bunch of
he won a couple of races
at
last year.
Saratoga at dumb prices, most on the turf, like you said. But I thought that it was Adam, but I might be misremembering, so I could be wrong. That's why
I think you're right. I think it is Adam, but. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking because I had it marked down.
I can't remember. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, and for the record, Mark, I did use your 8 Moplex as a B here. I question a little bit why they went to state bred with this one. I mean, unless it was just Jeremiah Engelhart, I think tends to know what he has, so I don't know if he just took the easy money in the state bred race there, or I don't know. You would think that if he knew what he had, that he would have run in maybe a tougher spot. But
by the way, I did look it up. It is Adam Rice, who is the nephew, but it was another Gervin. So the horse's name was Close the Game Sugar, who won the Mahoney at 19-1. So.
Okay.
Oh, that boomed me! That boomed me to the next fucking zip.
I had that horse. I
had that horse.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Sarah Badawi kind of in the where the new 4-star Dave Grill is. After that, she was giddy because she had a very large couple of wagers that had that horse on them, so she was very excited. So
Adam has raced 3 horses at the spot over 5 years. Yep. All 3 winners and the plus 1,137 return on investment.
Okay, I knew it was one of them. Thank you, Colin. I couldn't remember.
So I had my Rices confused. Yep.
There's a lot of them. It's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, lot of love for the one in chat here, obviously because the fierceness thing. Uh, David Barista likes the 5 a little bit. Caleb, what was the which one did you prefer? The 6, the 6 and
Six
the
and
8,
eight.
6 and 8.
Yeah. I don't, I don't strongly dislike the 5. I don't love his last race because the horse that won was a deep closer, Studley Do Right, and the horse that finished second was a speed horse, a Wesley Ward speed horse. So it seems like he had a good trip. He couldn't beat the speed, but he got out closed. It just kind of seemed like he was sort of content to run with his friends a little bit. So at 4-1 and likely going to be the second or third choice, I thought there was others I liked better.
Yeah, I agree with you on the 5. It didn't feel like there was a bias in play, like, oh, the speeds held on or the race fell apart. All the closers got there. You had a speed and a closer, and this horse just kind of clunks up. So, yeah, it wouldn't. That's this feels like the type that probably clunks up again. Maybe, you know.
Yeah, he can pass horses, and he is tactical. I mean, to Josh's point, but putting him on top at 4-1 would be a little bit hard for me.
Yeah, I mean he plots out so well in optics, but like I said,
he?
these are all really lightly raced horses. So yeah, he's that little Q1 square up there. I mean the 8 actually looks really good too.
Yeah,
Honestly, if you were to tell me which horse is 6 to 5, the 1 or the 8, I would think it's the 8. If you're looking at
Curious, they
this
don't
plot.
plot the 1 on the surf distance plot. I mean, 5 to 6 furlongs. I mean, I get it, but they're still sprints.
Yeah. So, nope. So what I wanted this. All right. So race 12. We're gonna close this out with a 5.5 furlong turf sprint here. And yeah, this was another race where you got a full field and then you got a whole bunch of MTOs in here, which obviously makes this really really tiring to look at all these horses. But Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, so big competitive field, but there is not a lot of speed in this race for a for a turf sprint. So I kind of ended up on 2 horses that I thought would be forwardly placed and had the right to take a step forward, and that's the 2 Dr. Osirin for Christophe Clement with Joe Rosario up, and the 9 Rhythm Nick for Mike Maker. I thought both of those would sit that sort of more forwardly placed trip, would be able to take advantage of the lack of pace, get comfortable on the front end, and kind of punch it home late. So those were the 2 I landed on. Nothing super creative. I don't have a price in here I liked. I actually only have those 2 horses written down. I had a really hard time with this race, and I guess it's one of those races where sometimes I'll look at this. You have a big field, and instead of doing A, B, C, I'll just be like, if I go deeper than 2, I'd have to have like half the field, and I would much rather just say, okay, I'm okay being wrong. I'll just use those 2 and go away, and that'll be that.
You don't like the 1, huh?
Man, I'm not against the 1.
I'll tell you what,
like,
man.
Nothing
I'll
against
tell you
them.
what. I would be throwing my credit card like Steven threw it under the damn front seat of the car at this if I saw Boca Chica on this horse. Because my only concern with this one is that you get Tyler Gaffalione aboard.
From the ring.
And Tyler's good, right? Tyler's good. He I just, and maybe I'm just misremembering, but I think sometimes he might pull a Mark and get a little too cute with some of the stuff that he tries to pull, when this is a horse that they just got to get out of the gate. And when you get these guys like Boca Chica, you get Jaime Torres, you get these these guys who are like, I only know how to do one thing, and that's get this damn horse out the gate. You know what you're gonna get. So
So why didn't you land on the 9 with Santana, who knows how to do that thing?
I mean, it's the horses on the rail. Like, I mean, and it what's really interesting about this, and I think, and once again, I'm going off memory because I don't have time form pulled up, but this horse, that time form fig is what was like a 105.
Yeah,
I think,
it fits
right?
for sure.
And it really fits. I mean, I think I top pick is the 2. I think the 2 by far, I think is the horse to beat in this race. You get Joel back aboard. You're just not fucking around with this fucking Rodriguez idiot. Uh, you know, I that was a joke, but no, apparently no one liked it. But at Laurel, I don't know what the fuck what happened there, but I think this horse obviously is done his best running, I think, on the lead, but Joel, another one who likes to take creative liberties in his rides. But I think this horse is tactical enough that even if Joel does let the one go a little bit, I think he's going to be super dangerous in this spot. So I have 1 and 2 as my lone A's. The other horse I was a little interested in was the 5. Hey Mac, it's Jack. For Junior Alvarado and James Begg here. James is another one with a pretty small barn. Second off the second start with the trainer is a pretty plus move. And if you look at some of the horses' back races, I think they're competitive in this spot, and this is when it's coming off a pretty damn long layoff. So second off the layoff, I expect a little bit move forward off that last effort. This is another horse who has been shown to be tactical, has been on the lead, has been just off. So I just think compared to your 9, who's going to be kind of further out, I think the 5 and the 1 are a little bit better placed to kind of get position in this turf sprint. So I'm 1 and 2 as A's, and I got the 5 as a B. Caleb.
Yeah, you guys essentially nailed the race the same way that I had it written down. I'm with you, Josh. I do like the 5. I think 6-1. He's the biggest price of the horses that I actually do like a decent bit. It is one, to use my own saying, or a saying that I stole from somebody at some other point. If you missed the wedding, the horse won and got DQ'd at 70-1 last out, and now he's 6-1 in what is probably a tougher race. I mean, I don't love that, but again, he's 6-1, and that's essentially his only turf race to go from, and it was quite good. I don't love Tyler on the rail with a little bit of other speed in the race, although I don't think it's a ton of speed. I'm not maybe as high on the 2, Dr. Osirin, as you and Mark both perhaps. I like the horse, and he'll make my tickets. I'm not super against him, but a lot of those winning efforts came last year and at Gulfstream. The horse ran okay at Pimlico and then backed up pretty bad at Laurel. Drops in for a tag here. Has beaten at a short price in each of his last 4 starts. So, I think this is the kind of favorite that is extremely vulnerable and that I'd like to take on. But again, he's 7-2, not 6-5. So I think part of that's sort of baked into the price. And then I kind of agree with both you and Mark. I don't know that I think the 9 Rhythm Nick gets the lead here. He does have some speed, but I kind of maybe disagree with time form a little bit. His start on turf, he had no speed. And, that is his first start in a new barn. Perhaps it was the surface. I didn't watch the replay, but I don't see any significantly gate trouble noted in the comment there. So I'm not sure he gets the lead.
The note on time form was took back. So my guess is that was the intention was to take him back.
Yeah, that's kind of how I interpreted it. So maybe I'm sure Ricardo will be more aggressive than Landeros, but again, new barn, new surface, shorter distance than ever before. I mean, it isn't like this is a horse that always made the lead anyway. So I think that 9-2 I think is too short for this horse, to be honest. I think I would want more like 6 or 8-1. And on some level, I think maybe I get that, but that he's more of a price dependent play. And then I guess to wrap it up with Josh's 5, I also liked second off the big layoff. Horse previously had speed, looks like he was kind of eased back into action. Seems no worse for wear. Love the fact that he comes in here for still protected, not in for a tag. So Connection still want to hang on to him here. So I do like Mac, it's Jack. So we end up on the same 4 horses, but perhaps in different order.
As I look at the optics, I will be adding the 5 to my tickets. So just throw that out there. After looking at that, oh geez, I guess I do need to give that horse a little more respect than I did.
Yeah. I thought, obviously
I mean, how does that in a turf sprint? How do you have to have the 5?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I really think the 1 and 5. I mean, like they look pretty good, and then the 2, I thought plotted out pretty decently. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm telling you, man, Boca Chica's on that 1, dude. I am firing the money cannon.
I would
I
like
am
that
firing
one.
the money cannon.
I would
man.
like that one a ton better with Boca Chica up. The jock actually is a yeah. I'm not allowed to bash jocks, right? So, but that one doesn't give me the more
I think
presence.
he's
That
I
jock
think
speech.
he's been doing pretty good though, Boca Chica. I know his dad Arnaldo
Okay.
is big time at Charlestown. So
I would much rather have Boca Chica up than Gaff on that horse.
So you have to
Much
love the
rather.
4 because Boca Chica gets off the 1 to ride this 4 War Terminator. I mean, this is a bargain, guys.
oh man, yeah, I don't know about that,
And a jockey upgrade from Katie Davis. I mean, just back up the truck.
dude. There was a horse
Don't
today.
tell your father that.
There was a horse today that Katie Davis got off, and I completely ignored, and won at a big price. Was that the speed horse, Mark, that you were yelling at me about?
No,
What horse was it?
no. The speed horse was no. That was the Saffy horse. Was the speed horse. The one that there was one horse that Jackie was on today.
Oh,
That
maybe
was the speed
no,
horse that
was
that I
on
couldn't
last
like.
time out. Last time out, it was a jock switch from one of the
I'm not
Davises.
sure which one. I'm not sure
Yeah,
which one that
I'll
was.
have to look.
There's so
at it,
many of them. There's 3 of them. It gets really confusing.
Yeah. Mark, I know you. I think I see David here has got 2146. So he does he's got the Boca Chica. Maybe David's like playing 4D chess over here. Sugar Gray Leonard was another one that I thought did plot out pretty well, but when you look, the horse just is. I mean, the horse is so off form. I mean, similar to Mark, right? You cross the line through 1, maybe through 2, but you're crossing the line through a bunch of them, and you're going back kind of far here. But is a horse that plots out really well, and yeah, that was kind of. I tried to make a case for the 6. I think Irad's going to take money. Obviously he's 6-1, and I mean the horse should probably be closer to 10 to 12-1. But
David saying inside post, and I don't. I think we have to see how the turf's actually playing, and let's I would pay attention tomorrow and see if that is a viable angle. I get historically there have been periods of time where that was something you wanted to chase, but let's see how the turf is playing. I mean, it looked absolutely gorgeous today, and it blows my mind they weren't running on it. So
yeah.
Going off memory from last year, and I know we've had a week of Saratoga already back in Belmont, but I remember it was extremely difficult to wire the turf sprints for the first 3 weeks of the meet. It was uncannily favoring closers. And I pulled up the track trends from HRN, and even still for the entire meet, 53 turf sprints, only 28% were won in early fashion, which is within 1 length of the lead at the first call. So that's 45% were won by stalkers, and then 26 by closers. So not the speed bias you or or at least I would probably expect for turf sprints going 5.5 at Saratoga. So last year definitely played more towards off the pace runners, and something I'll be watching to see if that holds.
Yeah, I would attribute that a lot of that to the weather. Obviously, there was a ton of days rained off last year, so we ran a lot less turf races than you would expect overall. So you have a smaller sample size than you would want, and also when they were running, it tended to be a deeper, heavier turf surface. So I think, not that I'm saying you're wrong, I completely agree with your stat is spot on, and it's definitely something you have to watch. But I would watch a bit and see how is the surface playing before you make any bias or assumptions there.
Yeah, nobody would call bias after 1 day.
I mean, who would call bias after 4 races? Like, that person would have to be an idiot.
There was a comment in chat you wanted to highlight, Josh.
Oh yeah, Nick Relex's 8 here, playground legend. Lascano always sneaky, second off the layoff, has some excuses in previous races. 1 on the front before, looks tactical.
It's a hard race for me because most of the field is either 2 for 26 or coming out of Monmouth or Tampa races, neither of whom are horses I usually use in New York. So it's tough. But yeah, the horse looks he looks fine.
He looks fine, but this is one of those races where I think you could make that case for a lot of these horses, right? Like there's you could make the argument that literally almost every horse in the field looks fine, right? So it's a tough race, tough sequence. Diana is an amazing race. I think that it was funny. I was debating doing other things on Saturday, and then I just went, no, I think I have to be there for this Diana because this field is just too good not to see live.
It's the best Diana that I can remember. And
Yep.
I'm sure there's better ones, but in the past handful of years, I mean, it's not like Josh said. It's not 5 horses and 4 Chads and then a no hoper or something. Like it's actually competitive. And the top 2 choices very well may not be Chad Brown trained at all. I mean, when the race goes off.
Yeah. And there's also an argument to be made that it's one of the maybe top 5 races so far this year, quite honestly. You're talking big fields. Everybody who you want is there. There's no horse that's ducking it that you go, geez, I wish they were there. And, they're all there like that. This is a real, will really set the measure for that division, which is really awesome.
Cool. Mark, I know there's a carryover tomorrow. Was there anything in particular? I know you're somebody who's been handicapped for like 27 days already for this day, but is there anything that stuck out to you tomorrow on tomorrow's card?
Yeah, I think the feature is brutal. Race 9 is absolutely just, I mean, I'm building, and I'm probably getting way too cute around the horse I'm building around. But I think that race is really, really tough. It's a tough sequence, but there's definitely some interesting spot plays. I'll have some YouTube shorts up. I didn't put any picks up today because honestly, I was walking the track after the scratches. I was trying to find plays, and I really, obviously, we're trying to be better about putting plays out there, and I'd like to use YouTube shorts as a way of doing that. And I just couldn't find a play I really liked, and I just ended up not putting anything up. And I'm really glad I didn't because, judging by my day, it was a good day not to put them up. But no, a really, really tough card tomorrow. Pick 6 sequence is really good. I don't think this chalks out. I think there's a lot of price potential there, and it should be a fun sequence.
Cool. Caleb, you gonna be playing it all this weekend, or are you?
I will be, yeah. Saturday's card, I've looked at the pick 5, and I like it. What we covered on the stream, and I haven't looked at the undercard yet, but I'm sure it's fine. And then with the pick 6 carryover tomorrow, I mean, it's so great to start Saratoga with a pick 6 carryover on a day that's washed off the turf. I mean, go figure. But nevertheless, I will probably take a pass at the pick 6 tomorrow, and I'll play Saturday. I don't know how much time I'll have or how much I'll be around, but I'll have some action going.
Cool. Yeah, and we're gonna try and do some different things. I think this meet. Mark, obviously, he's gonna be putting up some shorts. I'm gonna try and get some shorts up. Caleb will, as the meet goes on. And we're gonna try and do at least 1 or 2, maybe live streams during some racing. I know Mark likes to be on site for most of the big days, but maybe we'll do like a Sunday or something. Or
I can live stream from the track. That's not a problem at all. I'm in Cutwater in a box, so it's not that much different than at home.
Yeah. So we're gonna try some things, but we'll keep you guys up to date. Obviously, make sure you guys go ahead and like, subscribe, hit all the buttons. And obviously, we had an episode of Drank and Champagne out. Tomorrow night, we'll have an episode of You've Got to Be Shot-Tinning Me, the last one of the season before Hong Kong goes on break. We'll have some shorts up. I'm sure Mark will have something up tomorrow. So keep checking stuff out, and we'll try and toss up on Twitter as well. So as Mark is.
To answer Colin's question, yeah, I'll be there for Whitney 100%.
Is that when you're going to be there too, Caleb?
When?
Whitney?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So Caleb will also be there.
Gang.
There you go.
Mike, BDT, Gary.
Yep. Mike, Gary will be up there. Yep.
Foxhound, another Discord guy. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, cool. Awesome.
We should have a decent squad.
Cool. Well, that's going to do it for us. Obviously, check us out at ontheronglead.com, at wrong_lead. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at Two Turns. Happy birthday to Mark tomorrow. Make sure you wish him a happy birthday. If you see him on track, buy him a drink. And Caleb is at Caleb WVU. Have a good week, guys. Let's make some money.